Home prices are dropping. When you hear this phrase, home prices are dropping, do you think that the real estate market's crashing? You probably see headlines like these when you hop online, or maybe you're hearing it in a TikTok video or a reel, or perhaps that's what you think is truly happening in the real estate market today. So what I want to talk about today is, and clarify, is the difference between home prices and home values, and what is actually happening in the real estate market here in Houston, Texas today. So we've seen an unprecedented amount of demand for homes over the past 2 years. And that's resulted in prices driving up and significant price appreciation over 2020 and 2021. But back to my original point, home prices versus home values. So the way I see it, home prices are what you see when you log on to har.com or you hop on Zillow and you see that 123 Banana Street is listed for $399,000. That's the price, right? We can agree on that. But home values are different. Hear me out. If you currently own a home, it doesn't necessarily have a price per se because it's not on the market. And the value of your home isn't necessarily what your neighbor at 123 Banana Street listed their property for. There are more factors that go into what a buyer is willing to pay for your property versus your neighbor's property at 123 Banana Street. And while their list price and eventually the sales price of their property is going to have impact on your home value, a price reduction on their listing doesn't mean that your property is worth less. I hope that you're reading me. I hope this makes sense. So what I want to talk about though today is why the differentiation is important, because as you see home prices on those sites like HAR and Zillow and Realtor.com, wherever you look at homes being decreased or dropped or whatever you want to call it, it may lead you to think that your home value is dropping. For example, in Houston over the past 7 days, we've seen over 2,500 price reductions. So that's over double what we were seeing in January of this year, just like 6 months ago, right? But that doesn't mean that the sale prices are dropping, and that doesn't mean that home values are dropping. It just means that the price that's listed online dropped. But here are my thoughts on this for home prices, right? So you may not know this, but approximately 20% of real estate agents that are licensed today became licensed during COVID. So the time of high buyer demand and low inventory and super high price appreciation, that's been the only market in which they've ever sold. They haven't sold in a normal real estate market, right? So based on what I've seen, I think there's two things that are happening with these price reductions. So one, an inexperienced agent takes a listing and it's overpriced, right? Since they don't have the experience of a shifting market or of a normal market, they're only used to that market where you have significant price appreciation, crazy high demand, multiple offers, so they overprice the listing. And so when it doesn't go under contract, the first weekend or over a couple of weeks, they reduce the price. So if you initially listed a property at $500K, but it should have been listed at $450, when you adjust the price somewhere between that $500K and $450, is the price actually dropping, or are we just now listing it at the appropriate price, a realistic price, right? And then second, so many agents and in turn their sellers, they're prematurely reducing those list prices because if the house doesn't get an offer or multiple offers in that first weekend, they think, oh no, we better do something quick and drastic. Perhaps now though, think about it, in a more normal market, it may take 10 to 14 days to sell a property. Maybe it'll take 30, not 3. For many agents, again, we've entered this unprecedented real estate environment, but for experienced agents, we're entering what's called a normal real estate market. Over the past 2 years, when we've done any market reports, I always look back to 2019 and 2020 because year over year numbers can't give you a good picture as to what's happening when we had significant buyer demand over 2020 and 2021. In a normal market, we have price reductions. In a normal market, we have properties sit on the market a little bit longer. And in a normal market, there aren't always multiple offers. So that's my thought on prices as we move into a more normal market. But what I want to talk about a little bit is values. If you already own a home or you recently purchased a home or you're even thinking about buying a home, I'm sure you have the concern of what if the housing market crashes, values go to the toilet, and now are you living in a worthless house? What's going to happen? So the first thing that I'd like to point out is that in the last 6 recessions, home prices actually increased in 4 of the last 6 recessions. Home prices only dropped by 1.9% in 1991, And in 2008, they did drop by 19.7%, but that was a housing-led recession. So even in a recession, home values can still increase, and they normally do. A recession doesn't mean we are headed into a housing crisis. I'll repeat that. A recession isn't a housing crisis. So where are we today? Again, we're coming off of two of the busiest years we've seen here in Houston and in the real estate market really ever. We saw more properties sell in 2020 and in 2021 than ever before, and home prices appreciation more significantly than ever before. We saw the median sales price from 2020 to 2021 increase by 17.2% December to December. And even this year so far, we saw the median sales price increase in May 16%. So in May 2021, we were at $302,000, and in May 2022, we were at $351,000. When we look back to previous years, in a normal market, we would normally see 3 to 5% appreciation on a year-over-year basis. So we know that this rapid increase in appreciation isn't something sustainable or something that we would continue to see forever. So I think the best way to look at it is it's decelerating home prices, not depreciating, right? A decelerating environment means there's not as much appreciation as what we've seen in the past. So think about it like this. If you're driving down the highway at 100 miles an hour and you slow down to 85 miles an hour, you're still moving forward, just not as quickly. That's what we're seeing with home prices and home values for sure. So as we see less than 15 to 20% appreciation, it's really going to feel a lot different. But again, it's more of a normal market, back to what some of us remember from 2019 and before. But the experts, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, CoreLogic, the Home Price Expectation Survey, NAR, Ivy Zelman, Mortgage Bankers Association, they've got economists and people way smarter than me. They predict 8.5% price appreciation on average, with their predictions anywhere from 2.7 to 10.8% for this year. Furthermore, the Home Price Expectation Survey, they predict further appreciation in 2023 and beyond, anywhere between 3 to 4% in 2023 and the next few years after that. So again, a normal outlook for appreciation. So if you own a home or you're thinking about buying one, all signs are still pointing toward values continuing to increase, but at a slower pace over the next few years. If you're hoping to buy a home today and sell it for 20% more next year, that's not going to happen. But moral of the story, even while you see price drops on sites like Zillow or HAR.com or wherever online, home values are still increasing. But if you own a home and you want to know what's happening in your area, shoot me a message. We'd be happy to keep you updated with what's happening in your zip code, in your neighborhood or subdivision, or even just the city as a whole. No obligation there, but we want to keep people up to date with what is going on and where their most valuable asset lies. So I appreciate you watching, and I'll talk to you soon.